pass just as he said it would. And of course the text tells us that it did. But sometimes several people can give bad advice. But as a general rule, a common truth, you want to seek good counsel from others who have some experience and knowledge on that subject before you make a decision. Let's go back to our text, Proverbs 11 and verse 14. You know, 25, by the way, the opinions of 25 people, or 25 preachers, or 25 Bible scholars, 25 different church denominations, they might all say the King James Bible can't be trusted, or the Bible's not reliable, or you can't depend upon the Bible. The Bible's full of fables. The Bible is not sufficient to give you peace and comfort and strength and joy and happiness and satisfaction and a sense of the presence of God, as people simplify it and make it sound. And their opinions are not worth one person who actually reads the Bible with a believing heart and asks God to reveal Himself. Their opinions fade away, and they're worthless alongside one person who actually reads that Bible for himself prayerfully, and he asks God to begin to reveal Himself through it. If this is God's book, then God, I'm asking that you would reveal yourself to me through it. I'm willing to believe it, but I've never read it. You've got to help me understand. You know, there are a lot of people in the world who have come to understanding of God that way. That's not usually the norm. And I can't get a lot of Christians to read their Bible. But every once in a while you'll hear about some unsaved person who picks up the Bible and something begins to click inside their mind that they need something more than what this world has to offer. And the Word of God leads them to seek out Jesus Christ, to seek out how to be saved. That's what happened to Dr. Ruckman. Some voice in his head told me he had to find a Bible, start reading. So he went by this flop house, this old motel, and there was a bum asleep on the bed. He looked in the window, and he crawled through the window and stole the Bible out of the man's dresser and began reading it. And that's how he got saved. That Bible, God began to reveal Himself to him that way. He was a dance band drummer in nightclubs at the end of World War II. And he'd come in at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, half drunk, after being in a bar all night long, and he'd start reading the Bible. And he'd read that Bible for hours, and read, 200 or 300 pages the first couple of months. And after a few months, he was willing to believe what he read. And, of course, having all the experiences of his life up to that point, in experimenting with Hinduism and experimenting with Buddhism, helped him to see when a real voice of God was speaking to him on the page of that Bible. He says in his testimony that it was like the Bible kept track of his stream of consciousness as he was reading it. It was anticipating the next question that he was going to ask as he read. And it's an amazing testimony, and we ought to get some copies and make it available for everybody who wants to be encouraged by that testimony, and make them pass them out here at church. But 25 people's opinions are not worth one person's experience actually reading the Bible and letting God reveal Himself and finding out for himself. Now, verse 15 of our text says, "He that is surety for a stranger shall smart for it." By the way, you notice that word smart? That's like, oh, that smarts. That hurts. Something hurts. It smarts. That's the old English usage of the word. Every once in a while, some modern 21st century American will use that King James Bible word in exactly the King James Bible way. You know, he pinched his finger and smarted for it, or he burned his finger on, so he smarted for it. That's all it means. You're going to get stuck, you're going to get burned, you're going to suffer in the end the consequence of making a bad decision. In this case, if you sign a note or co-sign a note for somebody that you're not well acquainted with, then you're liable to get the short end of the stick. You're going to be left holding the bag, and you're going to end up having to pay that debt that he skipped out on and wasn't able to fulfill. Now, the man who avoids that, it says in verse 15, he that hateth suretyship is sure. It's an interesting play on words. He that hateth suretyship is sure. That is, he's sure, he's secure. He's not going to lose his furniture. He's not going to lose his car or his house as collateral to pay for somebody else's debt because he didn't obligate himself to pay for somebody else's debt. And this is a problem that politicians don't seem to understand. Interesting problem that happened in America, these subprime mortgage thing. I'm not an expert on it. I wasn't able to follow all the details, but the essence is this, that the government began guaranteeing home loans to people who had no way to pay for those mortgages. There were people in some states, the only income they could show is that they were getting a welfare check every month. That was their guaranteed income. And on that basis, the government gave them home loans. Or they didn't ask to prove any income. I'll just state, take your word for it, tell us how much you make every month. And in some cases, that was sufficient. They didn't have to prove with paycheck stubs how much they were making. And they get these home loans, these real low interest, 1%, 2% teaser rates they call them. And that's going to be good for 5 years, 7 years, however long the term was. At the end of that, it's going to jump up to a much higher rate of interest. But that low interest was very enticing. People said, I can get myself a home. And so all these people, all these homes. And once those interest rates start, they all figure, well, between now and 5 years or 7 years from now, I'm going to win the lottery, or I'm going to get a raise at work, or I'm going to strike it rich doing something else, or I'll move before that time is up and then I won't have to pay for that, or some such thing. But those things never happen. And once the interest rate goes up to a higher rate, the new payment, they can't afford it. So all these homes began to get foreclosed on all over the country. Banks that loaned the money, they didn't even want to lend it because the government was coercing and forcing and twisting their arms to do it. We want people to own their homes. This is America. No one should go without owning their own home. Well, why don't we say, this is America. Nobody should drive anything less than a BMW, right? This is America. Everybody should have a home at the beach. This is America. Everybody, you know what I mean? This is the nonsense that the government perpetrated. That everyone has the right to this, that, and the other because it's America. Well, once the people got foreclosed, they lost their homes, and once all these homes are empty, then there's no need to build new homes. So new housing stops, construction stops, slows down all over the country. Anybody that feeds into the construction business, your Home Depots and Lowe's and building supply companies, their business slows down because there's nobody building new homes. Electricians are out of work, plumbers are out of work. All of these things like a domino effect. One led to another and another and another. And someone has to pay for all that. And the government said, well, we're going to twist the bank's arms to not foreclose on you, or we're going to do this and that. In the end, people are asked to, let's give a stimulus money to this group, stimulus money to that group, let's bail out the big banks, let's bail out the auto industry, let's bail out. The guy who's been keeping his nose clean, he's the one whose taxes are being asked to bail out people who weren't behaving. Whether it be the auto industry or the mortgage industry or people. Some people, if they lost their home because they didn't read the fine print, they were motivated by greed, well, they deserved to lose it. I hate to say that, but sometimes the school of hard knocks is the only place people learn things. All right, that's enough of my commentary on that. We can edit that out, I suppose, at the end of our video if we need to. That really wasn't essential to our lesson. But if you don't co-sign for somebody else's debt, then you're sure of your own safety because you realize they can't come after you and come after your possessions to pay for somebody else's debt when they skip town or they miss their payments and next thing you know they're looking for you. That doesn't happen if you don't co-sign to start with.